And as soon as the IT team gets it right, we will get into it. And this session is about understanding Enactus. What is Enactus, right? What is Enactus? So this session is going to be very interactive. We're going to talk to one another, okay? I know that there are people in the room who can actually take this session because they know Enactus very well, especially part of our faculty advisors, some of them. I know that we also have a relatively new faculty advisors who need to be in this room as well. So, like I said, it's going to be an interactive session. So faculty advisors that are well-grounded, we share their experience as we move on. And for the students, we are hoping that everyone will get a good grasp of the Enactus concept and purpose and be able to apply it in your daily living. But before we proceed, thanks guys. Before we proceed, I would like to ask a question. And the question is what is on the screen. What is Enactus? And there are no right or wrong answers. I just want to have a feel of what your perspective is, or your perception rather, of Enactus is. So who wants to share? Young man, are you raising your hand? Yes, you. Yes. Okay, now raise your hand. Raise your hand. I want to hear your thoughts about what Enactus is. I will need a volunteer. Yes. It doesn't stop you from answering questions, though. So I see you quickly raising your hand to volunteer. Well, thank you. Please put your hands together for him. Take one of those microphones. Switch it on if you can. Fantastic. So let's hear very quickly, what is Enactus? What does it mean to you?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. To me, Enactus fully means entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Action.
I forgot to mention. I don't want textbook definition. Yeah,
okay.
I want your definition. You know,
right.
And it's okay if you don't have a definition, so we can move on.
Okay, I do have a definition.
Yeah.
Okay, Enactus to me is an organization that engages in making societal impacts.
Okay, that sounds a little bit the textbook. Yes, who else? Okay, we have one confident person up there. Perhaps you need a second volunteer. Are you volunteering? Okay, again, you will answer the question. Okay, come forward. Come and take one of these microphones and stay around there. Yes, go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. To me, Enactus is a breeding ground. Enactus is one of these organizations that prepare you for a year after the school. It prepares you for what awaits you outside the school walls.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to someone else.
I always love giving this. Let me say this. Enactus is what breeds you to become the CEO you expect to become after school. That's what I do tell my team members.
Interesting. Now, before you hand over the microphone, since you have so much to say, let's say it together, right? So, how did you come about this definition? At what point in your history with Enactus did you feel like, oh, this is what this is about? And I'm not saying this is right, yeah? I just want to dig. I'm not saying his response or his definition is right or wrong. I just want to drill a little bit down there and see what we have there, whether there is depth or not. Go ahead.
All right. I simply discovered this when I looked at some of the alumni of Enactus.
Okay.
From other schools and even from my own schools. And I will quickly talk about the likes of the Adikpe from Cat Poly.
So are you from which school?
I'm from Federal University, Dutsuma,
Katsina. And your own team now.
Yes.
Okay. No,
so I said from now, so from Adikpe down to Yusuf Umar Usman, down to Gegele,
so you've seen them and you are thinking,
yes,
something unique about them.
Yes, okay, because basically when these guys come up to talk, they tell you that what made them become who they are today is Enactus.
Fantastic.
And these guys I'm talking about, they own their own, they have
Okay.
their self business.
Okay,
Thank you.
I apologize for giving you a time. Okay, any other individual? Yes, to the lady, the first lady, to make an attempt.
Thank you very much. I'll say Enactus.
Let her use it.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so I'll say Enactus makes you a solution that
Makes
you're
you a
looking for.
solution.
And Enactus is the recipe of the meal you want for yourself and the meal people want you to offer.
Okay, very philosophical. Enactus is the recipe of the meal you want for yourself and the meal that other people want you to present. Yeah, one more, and then who is that person that must speak? Nobody passionate enough yet. Okay, you the volunteer. Ah, fantastic.
Thanks so much, sir. Simply, Enactus is a family that breeds entrepreneurs.
Okay, Enactus is a family. I like that connotation to it. It's a family that breeds entrepreneurs. Now, the truth is, okay, yeah, we have been reminded that we have some. Okay, Raphael, you can share some of those books to everyone that has spoken, starting with, okay, no, for now, only the 2 volunteers, right? Then we'll keep sharing as we engage, okay? So it's a book on goal setting. Thank you. You may drop the microphone now, or you want to be my co-presenter. Okay, so like I said, there's no right or wrong answers. Everything they've said is there, okay? But I have some assumptions, right? Personal assumptions. And I would like to test whether these assumptions are right, wrong, or neutral. Yeah, and I want everyone to be very, please, volunteers, come forward again. We will need them. Okay, no, maybe not yet. Let's be very honest with this, okay? Very factual. It is my assumption, and in fact, we had a debate in the office before we came here, and I said to them that I will prove them wrong, or I'll prove that my assumptions are right. And we disagreed in some areas. So what we're about to do is more or less like a survey to determine whether I was wrong or they were wrong, right? So the assumption is that most of you, first of all, how many people have been in Enactus, have attended national competition before? Virtually what? Oh, that's a good question. Okay, I'm talking physical competition. How many people have attended physical? Okay, so there's this assumption, it's a fair enough number. There's this assumption that most people join Enactus or become excited about Enactus because of the opportunity to participate at the competition. Who agrees? By show of hands, in fact, by voice voting, say yay. See, I told you guys. Okay. So for a lot of people, yes, please. You are against? No, wait. We are not fighting. It's not a debate. Yeah, sit down, don't worry, sit down. Somebody please give her water to calm down. You don't agree with that assumption. Yeah, of course, there are several people that don't agree. So those again say nay. So you have a voice finally. The eyes have it. Okay? And don't worry, we'll get back to you and you can explain why you disagree. And like I said, no answer is right or wrong. It's a survey, right? But I want to prove a point to my colleagues. And so far, the eyes have it. Right? And part of the reasons why we say it's important, a lot of people join the Enactus program or are excited about it for those that have been there for some time, is because they're excited about it because of the competition. It's partly because the competition allows for opportunity to travel. Is that correct? Okay. Do you still disagree? You see? Okay. Okay. Now, opportunity to travel, the Enactus program itself provides an opportunity to travel. All of you, except those in Covenant University, had to travel to be here. True? Yeah, so you all came. Part of it is that I want to be part of Enactus because I get the chance to travel to other parts of Nigeria for leadership conference, for other events. I mean, there are times where we invite Enactus students to come to LBS in Lagos, to come and participate in a special forum, or to invite them to Nigeria Economic Summit group sessions in Abuja, right? And we've done this for a number of years. We haven't done it in the last 2 or 3 years for obvious reasons, right? And for those students, that's another opportunity to travel. And then again, you have the opportunity to travel to Lagos State for the national competition as well. And if you get to win the national competition, you get a chance to travel to the abroad, right? To represent Nigeria and at the World Cup. So you go to the abroad and enjoy for 2 or 3 days. Has anybody here represented Nigeria at the World Cup? Not yet. Who will it be? Okay, you. What team? Okay, no, not you personally, but your team. Fantastic. CU has. Okay, that's true. Katpuli has. ABU has. BUK has. But I'm talking about the person. Anybody from CU in the room now? Anyways, it's a fantastic opportunity, right? And this year, we will talk about the World Cup by tomorrow or the day after. But I can give you some insights. It will be at Puerto Rico. Yeah, Puerto Rico. So who will come with me? You know I'm going there. So who will come with me? You have to win the national competition first, right? Okay, so moving on. So being part of Enactus provides opportunity for a series of travels, both locally and internationally. And recently, Enactus Nigeria and Enactus one other country, I will not mention the country now, we started talking about an exchange program that can potentially allow for Enactus students in Nigeria to go on an exchange program for a month or 2 months in the abroad. And then those from that country will also come to Nigeria and spend time with us here and all that. And the same thing for faculty advisors. It is still in its early stage of development, but that's possible. So that's another opportunity for travels, right? And the other one is people join Enactus or remain in Enactus because of the opportunity for them to become recognized on their campuses. Oh, you agree? Okay. Some of them become recognized, you become very important on your campus. You work, in fact, I heard the story, I think it was in EXU. Yes, it was in EXU many years ago. The first team leader of EXU, Bemisola. Yes, that's an improv. Okay, well, you know, we have Enactus, 2 seasons of Enactus in EXU. Yes, then Bemisola was during SAIF. Yes. So, but SAIF is Enactus, Prof. Yeah. So when we set up Enactus in Ekiti State University, it was Bemisola that emerged as a team leader. And at that time, she was campaigning for SUG, whether secretary or treasurer, I can't remember, when she saw the Enactus flyer. And she quickly picked the form and signed up. I was there to personally interview her. Of course, at that time, I wasn't the country director. So I interviewed Bemi and a lot of other people, and she became team leader. After she joined, we observed certain things in her, and we made her the team leader. Few months down the line, now, immediately after she became team leader, she lost the election that she was running for, SUG election for treasurer or secretary, I can't remember now. And of course, she focused on her work as Enactus. According to her, 2 months down the line, she had reason to see the VC. And she and the team members with their faculty advisors went to the VC's office, right? And as they were going into the VC's office, they saw SUG president and all the EXCO standing under a tree, waiting for the VC. And they just came and strolled in straight to the VC's office and had a meeting with the VC. And for her, that was the biggest win, because as far as she was concerned, the election was rigged in favor of someone else. So she was very happy to see all of them standing under the tree. And she walked in with her team members, with the faculty advisor, to go and see the VC. She finished with the VC, she came downstairs, they were still standing there, they entered their car and they drove away. So for her, it was a prestigious thing. And she said to me personally that SUG couldn't have given her the opportunity to engage, right? And personally, during my time as an Enactus student too, I mean, I had similar encounter where I met with the VC one-on-one, shook his hands, something that even the SUG president couldn't do at will, right? So we all agree that that is a factor, right? Very good incentive. How many people think about it, the reason for being an Enactus as opportunity to build that personal capacity? Yeah? You believe so? Yeah. Again, you see, the response to the first question is stronger than personal development. That's the point I'm going to, right? And then we have this. It gives you the opportunity to make impact. Now you know. Yeah. It gives you the opportunity to make impact. But then again, there are those of us who are not exactly sure. And there's nothing wrong in not being sure. When I first joined Enactus, I wasn't sure. In fact, I wasn't sure why I wanted to be there, but I was there. I just knew that there was something about it, right? So is there anyone who, even now, you're not so sure, but you just know that you like the feel and you'd rather be here than not be here, even though you're not sure? Who is that bold person? Who is able to own up? Okay, I see one hand, I see a second hand, I see a third hand and a fourth hand. Okay, are you also raising your hand? The fifth hand, please stand up. Let me see you people very well. You're not sure, but just those 5 of you. And if there's anyone else, just get up for a second. Don't worry, it's okay. I mean, I was like you too. I wasn't sure. I think, yes, someone raised his hand around there. Okay. It's okay not to be sure. I mean, and I like being very honest. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th person has refused to stand up, but that's okay. Okay, you are also standing up. Okay, that's 5. Okay, Raphael, please. I am inspired by your courage to stand up in the midst of all of these people to say, I'm not sure. All right, and for that, you have a gift. So please give them a gift each. Yeah? Because you all remind me of me. You're not sure, but you are still doing it. Okay, so I have proven my point to my colleagues that the idea of competition, the idea of travels, and a few other things are some of the incentives that keep you on the Enactus program, or excite you to become a member of the Enactus program, beyond the 2 more critical reasons, personal development and impact, right? But I'm sure that by the time we're done with this session and the entire program for the rest of the day or the week, you would have moved from competition, travel, recognition to personal development and impact, right? So let's talk about what really is Enactus now. So I want you to imagine, take a look at this picture and imagine it to be a pipeline, right? I often say that the Enactus program is like a refinery, yeah? Like a refinery. You know what happens in the refinery? We get crude oil, raw crude and pass it through the refinery. And when it comes out at the other end, it is refined into petrol, kerosene, diesel, gas, and all of that. Pretty much that is the idea of Enactus. So if you look at these and think about a refinery and think of it as it has an input from where you put in the raw materials. And the raw materials here in this case are you, the student, right? So you are the raw material, you come through the pipeline or the refinery. And in the refinery, there are different processes, distillation processes that actually does the job of distilling the crude into various products, petrol, kerosene, gas, and all that. So you go through that process in the refinery, in this case, in Enactus, and then you come out at the outputs, right? As finished product, okay? So you come out here as finished product. But let's look at some of the processes, some of the things that happen while you are inside Enactus that actually does the refinement, all right? That refines you. And some of them include team recruitment. You know, you have done a bit of team recruitment. You've tried to recruit new members. You've talked to other students on your campus to come join us. That process of sharing the forms, getting people to submit their forms, getting you analyzing the form and selecting the right people and conducting interviews. In fact, on some campuses, we sell forms, correct? And you sell forms as high as 2,000, 3,000, even more. Is that correct? Yeah. So that whole process is what I mean by team recruitment. Then, as soon as you've built your team, you start project development, you are brainstorming, you're coming up with new ideas until you have your project. You do your needs assessment, first of all, even before you get to your project development. You have brainstorming sessions throughout the year. So these are part of it. And as soon as your project is developed, you begin the implementation. When you engage in the communities, you engage with partners, potential sponsors, you engage with your school management, and then you begin to implement your project the way you want it implemented. And then you continue with your community engagements, you're doing fundraising, you're attending trainings like this and conferences. Like I said earlier on, we invite you to outside of your school environment to come and associate with people, to learn from people. So you're attending trainings and conferences such as this. You are doing what they call stakeholder management. You are engaging your vice chancellor or your team leader and other excos. You have the opportunity to engage your vice chancellor directly. You have the opportunity to speak with us at the country office. You have the opportunity to engage with other professionals because they are seeking to build partnerships with them. And all of those things, as little as they may seem to you, are the processes that turn you around from being crude to something else. And we'll get to that. So that whole process of managing relationships and managing stakeholders also is part of the process. And then you have the on-campus competition, during which you are able to all come together because you have different project groups. You are able to come together to do your project, present your project before judges on your campus. Oftentimes, your vice chancellors and other management staff serve as your on-campus judges, right? And then you also have, once you determine the project that will be presented at the national competition, you now start preparation proper for the national competition. You develop your scripts, you do your slides, you do your videos, you do your rehearsals over time. All of these processes help to prepare you for the national competition and beyond. And all of these things are part, and a lot more. We don't have enough time for me to continue talking about them. But all these activities, as isolated as they seem and as inconsequential as they appear to you while you're doing the work, all of those things connect together to produce the output. And the output is that remember, you are the raw material that went in raw, like crude oil. By the time you go through this whole process over time, 6 months to 1 year to 18 months to 24 months and beyond, you find that you begin to come out of the product, of the process as a product, and you become more purposeful because you have learned to stay focused on the goal and you pursue that goal to its logical conclusion. So you become more purposeful, you become more accountable because you know that you have to report report back to your faculty advisor. And even when you're coming to the national competition, you have to write your reports very well, your annual reports, your presentation, everything has to be factual. Your school management released funds to you, or you got money from other partners, but you must account for all of that. And so that process helps you also to become more accountable to yourself and to other people. You become more entrepreneurial because by all means, you couldn't have gone through all these processes without becoming entrepreneurial. And being entrepreneurial simply says that you are able to see a problem as an opportunity and you're able to create a solution for it. So it's a mindset, right? It's a mindset. It's not being entrepreneurial does not necessarily mean you go and start a business, even though that's part of it. But it just says that you have a positive attitude towards life and you are able to take on challenges as quickly as possible. You become more innovative because if you're entrepreneurial, then you are innovative as well. And again, it helps you to become more analytical. Earlier on, we talked about needs assessment. You will need to engage the community. You need to identify what the problem is, what are the causative factors of that problem, so that your solution will not be addressing the symptoms, but addressing the causative factors themselves. So through all that process, you become more analytical. You become, as I mentioned earlier, even more innovative. You become a problem solver because you're not discouraged by whatever is in front of you, but rather you are more inspired to solve that problem. So you become more of a problem solver and you become a team player, because you have to work with other members of your team. You have to, just the skit you did now depicted a teamwork. So you become a team player because you only play a simple role within your team. There are other members. You learn to manage yourself and your emotions while managing other people's emotions within your team. So that helps you to also become a team player. And then you become results-oriented because you are focused on the goal. You know what you want to achieve from the very beginning. And so you invest your time, your energy, your resources towards achieving that. In fact, if you do Enactus well enough, some people in your class will call you insane or you're not serious. But believe me, Enactus program complements your academic work. And we've seen that in multiple ways, right? So you become more result-oriented because that being result-oriented enables you to even focus more on your academics, right? And then it also helps you to become forward-leaning. You are forward-leaning. What that means simply is that you are always seeking to find a solution to whatever the problem is. Rather than being discouraged and walking away, you are saying, there must be a way out of this. Like the bishop said this morning, you will always find a solution. A leader is that person that is trying to always find a solution within the limits of the law, right? And so you become forward-leaning in terms of trying to find solution. And by all means, you become creative. You are more values-driven because you have a course that you are pursuing. And that course might simply be that project you're implementing, right? So that it becomes a course and then you are fully engulfed by it, or overwhelmed by it, and you take it up. You become values driven. You know what you are standing for. You know what you cannot take and what you must protect. So you become values driven. And of course, you have to become more emotionally intelligent than you were before you became a member of the Enactus program because of the different people you have to work with, whether your students, fellow students, your university staff members, your faculty advisors. You have to become more emotionally intelligent to know how to manage all of these people with their different temperaments. Sometimes you go to your faculty advisors and he's busy. And it tells you, oh, come back later. Sometimes he might even scream at you. I say, come back later. Why is this person disturbing me? You know that that is not his usual or her usual self. So you manage that. Sometimes they're like, just come in here now. I know it wasn't so easy for some of you to get approval from your school management, but you have to manage all of those to eventually get here. So you become more emotionally intelligent and you develop your communication skills further, because you have to communicate to different stakeholders and meet them where they are. So what you say to stakeholder A may not be the exact words you use for stakeholder B, but the crux of the matter for both of them remains the same. So you develop your communication skills. And of course, when you do all these things before now, you are developing your leadership skills as well, right? And the list goes on. And so look at this, outputs. All of these activities listed here. This is who you become. This is what Enactus is about. Spending time taking you through a journey, refining you through a series of processes to make you one person that embodies all of this and more. Who is excited? Because you can become all of these and more, right? I will show you how you can become more of these. I've said it. First, you have to go through all of these processes and more diligently and committedly. If you do that, you will get here. But this is more. The value you get out of Enactus is solely or largely, and I like to use solely, dependent on how involved you are. That's a given fact. That's a given fact. The value you get out of Enactus is solely dependent on how involved you are as an individual. You know, many years ago, an alumnus from University of Uyo, I'm trying to remember her name now. She now works with African Development Bank in Addis Ababa. Udwak, yes, thank you. Udwak came out from the Enactus program and she was visiting Lagos that year. She decided to come to the office and we spent some time just chatting about Enactus. And she said to me, I have done a study of those of us that finished from University of Uyo. She's speaking now. And those Enactus students that finished from University of Uyo that are excelling today, according to her at that time, were strictly those that were very committed, that were very serious with Enactus. Strictly, according to her. And I tend to agree with that because I have also seen it replicate itself in different other institutions, right? And that is why we say the value you get, and the value here is defined by all these possibilities from purposefulness to leadership skills. So what you get out of Enactus is directly dependent on how involved you are, what you get amongst all those things. And trust me, you can become all of this, or you can become some of it, or you can become nothing of it. The choice is yours. That's why I say the value you get out of Enactus is solely dependent on how involved you are. Those of you in science will say that when you say something is conversely proportionate, is that correct? Sorry? Is inversely is directly proportional. Thank you. Okay. So the value you get out of Enactus is directly proportional to what you put in. That's the other way to put it. So you can write it down if you want to. And quote me. Say Michael Ajayi said so. And I'll defend it anywhere on the surface of the earth. Right? The value you get out of Enactus is directly proportional to what you put in terms of time, in terms of your intellect. So it may look like stress, but indeed you are developing yourself. The young man over there talked about how he saw some people excelling, like Emmanuel Adigbe. By the way, Emmanuel Adigbe is a former team leader of Kaduna Polytechnic. He was a team that represented Nigeria at South Africa. Canada, yes, at the time. He led the team to Canada at that time. And I'm not surprised the kind of success he has recorded in Kaduna State since he left, right? And that's just one of the several examples. But now, how do you get here to the point that you become all of this, get involved. You have to get involved. Now, what does it mean to get involved? It means that you are intentional. Now, being intentional simply means, you know yourselves. Even now, you know that if you call a meeting in your team today, there are people who will not show up, true or false. And their excuse will be very simple. I have lectures. I have what? I have tests. And then sometimes you will wonder, do I not have lectures? Right? Some will say I have fellowship, right? So you have to be intentional. Those alumni that have gone ahead of us, and you will see some of them, I think, on Friday. You will see one or two of them on Friday that will come and share their own experiences. Those alumni that have gone ahead and have succeeded and have become all of these and more are the ones that were intentional, that created the time to see this and prioritized it, right? Another way of getting involved is by being actively engaged. So it's not enough to be intentional, but you also must be actively engaged and make yourself available. And then you also have that you must be curious. If you are not curious, if you don't ask questions, you cannot grow. So you must ask those questions. Why do we do this thing this way? Why are we implementing this project this way? What kind of solutions, what kind of results are we hoping to get? If this is the result we want to get, then this solution that we are deploying will not provide it. We need to change something. That's being curious. So you ask those tough questions that everyone else will rather keep quiet about, right? So to get involved, you have to be intentional. You have to be actively engaged, not just attending meetings. So there are members of the team that simply attend meetings, but they never get to the field. There are those that just cross their legs and wait for presentation time. How many of you know those kind of people? They just wait because they think they speak fluent English. They'll just come during rehearsals for national competition. They'll just show up and say, hey, it's my turn now. So somebody has been doing the work all the while. You just want to come and stand in front of the crowd and talk, right? So being actively engaged means being involved in everything, right? Now, if you do all of these, if you go through this process the way we think you should, by engaging in all of these activities and more, committedly, we have said that, and you get involved the way you should, that up there becomes your reward for being that involved. But guess what it does? Because if we are able to transform you, the Enactus student, to this person here on the right of your screen, what we would have done is that we will be achieving our vision. And the vision is to transform you, the Nigerian youth, into resourceful, purposeful, and values-driven entrepreneurial leaders and social innovators. That's the goal. And this really, coming back here, now looking at that vision and coming back here, you see these elements from being purposeful, right, to being accountable, being purposeful, accountable, entrepreneurial, analytical, problem solver, results-oriented, emotionally intelligent. This is who you become. And this is why we wake up every morning and go to work in the country office. This is the motivation for us. And I'm sure even for your faculty advisors, this is why, part of the reasons why they make themselves available to support you throughout your journey. If we achieve this for every one of you, then this vision right here of transforming you, the Nigerian youths, into resourceful, purposeful, and values-driven entrepreneurial leaders and social innovators would have been achieved. And that's what we do, right? So at this point, I'll stop to ask one simple question. Is anybody still in doubt of whether or not they should be an Enactus student? It's okay to say, yes, I'm still in doubt, right? And our goal, everything we do in the country office, from the simple phone calls we make to your team, to having Zoom meetings with team leaders and a few other members, to organizing conferences like this, is to prepare you to become this. Now, for us to be able to achieve that, one of the things we have also done is to create a structure, right? A structure that will enable you all function in an organized manner on your campuses. Because unless you function in an organized manner and in an organized structure, you may not achieve all those things that we want you to achieve. Earlier on, I talked about being intentional, being actively engaged, and being curious. We needed also to create a structure that allows you to be all of those things so that you can achieve the objective. And this structure used to be like this, right? You don't have to write, we will give you guys all of these, but you can just take little notes. When I say you don't have to write, I don't mean don't write at all. I just mean don't try to write down everything, right? So the structure used to be like this. You will see that it starts with the faculty advisor, then to the team leader, and you have the team secretary, project facilitator, or project head. You have the financial secretary, the technical head, and now the social media head. In some institutions, you find that the technical head and the social media handler or officer, the functions of those two people are conducted by one person, or they're separated. That's why you have it that way, right? But what is interesting is that under the project head or project facilitator, you will see that we have PG 1, 2, all the way to 10, right? So you have PG 1, 2, all the way to 10, and PG simply means project group. So we used to have a structure that allowed each team to have 10 projects. And by the way, from the team leader to the project group, those are the executive members, because each project group has a project leader, right? So those are the offices recognized by Enactus. Tomorrow or Friday, Mr. Raphael will spend a lot of time talking about the different functions of each of these people. But for now, I'll just talk about the structure for the purpose of this conversation, right? So you have the team leader all the way to the project group forming the executive members of the team, right? And now under the project facilitator, you have 10 project groups, and then under the project group, although we have used project group 6 as an example, but each project group has functional units, from the media and publicity to the monitoring and sustainability to research, fundraising and partnership, community engagement. These are functional units that enable you implement your projects efficiently. Now, each of these functional units consists of members. Now, we created this structure to enable every member to be actively engaged, to be intentional, and to, what's the third one now? Yeah? No, not you. Where's the third one? To be curious. Okay, Raphael sold out. Okay, however, as time went by, we realized that a lot of teams were struggling with 10 projects every year. And recently, we decided to revisit that, right? And so, but let's talk about some of the goals first of that structure you just saw. And one of them is to get all Enactus students to be very involved, like I said earlier on, is to make sure that there's efficiency within the team. So get involved and hands-on the program so that they can all have the experiential training. Indeed, Enactus is an experiential training opportunity, right? So we created that to achieve this. We also created that to increase the number of participating students per team. Now, this is important because we began to see the impact of the Enactus program on the students that were coming out of it. And we thought that it's important to extend that impact to other students within the campus, right? And so the only way to do that is to increase the membership. There was a time when the average member of team members for a team is maybe like 30 or 25, at best 35. But the goal was to increase that to at least 100 members. So if you have 10 groups with 10 projects, you now have 100 members, then therefore the quality of impact will be spread across 100 people per team as against 25 or 30 of them, right? And then the other thing is to increase the presence of the Enactus team and program on the campus through increased membership. Even now, you know that some of you on your campuses, nobody knows Enactus. True or false? Nobody except your members. Your school management is not really aware, even though you send letters to them. Your classmates don't know what you're talking about. They have no idea. So the idea behind this was to ensure that we increase the presence of Enactus on your campus so that you can be easily recognized and your profile will go up like the lady in Ekiti State University. Yeah. Like I spoke about earlier on, Bemisola. And we also wanted to increase the number of community interventions through your innovative projects per team per year. So if we have 10 project groups with 10 different projects, that means because they're implementing these projects in different communities, more communities are impacted, more people are impacted through your interventions. So these are some of the reasons why we came up with that structure to say, this is how this program will run on the campus. And as long as we have those functional units, it provides opportunity for every member to be hands-on, to have that experiential learning. And in the process of having that experiential learning, they will get involved, they'll be curious, and they'll be actively engaged so that they become the outputs that we were planning to have from the beginning. And by doing that, we'll be achieving our goal or vision of transforming you into resourceful, purposeful, and values-driven entrepreneurial leaders and social innovators. But we then had to create a new structure. And this new structure, haven't seen the difficulties of that first structure because oftentimes it's difficult to have 10 fantastic projects. So you have 2, 3 fantastic projects and all the rest are suffering. So we decided that, okay, let's revisit that structure. And all we had to do was to clarify and simplify the structure for all teams because again, there was a lot of confusion, to create the opportunity for a more robust engagement and interactions and brainstorming sessions within each group. This is particularly important because remember I said that initially each group had 10 members. Now in that group of 10 people, we realized that maybe only 3 or 4 are active. The rest are not exactly very active. And so because of that, you find that because there are not so many, only few people are involved. And so we are losing out in the opportunity to impact all of them. And so we say, okay, what if we have more people per group so that they don't burn out and they are able to do more together and be exposed to all of the processes of the Enactus program so that they can be impacted the way we wanted them to be impacted, right? And then again, we said to redirect attention to developing and implementing only 3 highly innovative and impactful projects. So that was important because we were seeing shallow projects out of the teams trying to implement 10 projects. We're seeing only 2 or 3 shallow projects. And of course, the membership strength per team will be maintained at a minimum of 60 members per team. So initially we wanted minimum of 100. Now we are saying we can aspire for the 100, but minimum will be 60, and I'll show you why. So the next slide will show the new structure that says we still have the faculty advisor at the top, you have the team leader, but now instead of 10 project groups, what do you have now? You now have 3 project groups. We are not saying you must do 3 projects. we are saying minimum. So if your team has capacity for more than 3 project groups, by all means, feel free. However, from experience, we think at this point, 3 projects should be good. And then you have 3 solid projects that are very innovative, very engaging, and very transformative in your community. Now, this structure, I mean, the first structure and the second structure were created for us to be able to allow for efficiency in the entire system. And I'm talking about this system here. All of that structure was created and later on reviewed to allow for efficiency in this process, particularly as it relates to project development and implementation. Because if that system is efficient, then it is very likely that you will achieve this. And if you achieve this, then you must achieve that. And if you achieve that, then the goal or the vision of Enactus as it relates to us here will be achieved, right? And again, you will see that we go round in circles and we come back to you, the individual Enactus student. And I'm happy that even in this room today, without us having to say it, without me having to say it, we have student members who have observed alumni and say, indeed, there's something unique about this alumni that are succeeding. And I think, and I believe that it is the Enactus thing. And that is what it is. This is the vision. So we are not waiting for 10 years time to achieve the vision. The vision is already being achieved. But whether we will achieve it or not, to a large extent, depends on you, how involved you are, right? So this is really what the Enactus concept is about. This is what the Enactus purpose is about. And this is what Enactus is. So at this point, I'll pause for any question or comments or suggestions, anything. I know you guys are already tired and are happy that we have come here. So, whose perception has changed? Yeah, I see a hand here. Keep your hand up. Are you raising your hand? Yeah. So where is my volunteer? I'd like to hear from you. What has changed? What did you believe before and what do you see now? It's right in front of you.
Thank you very much, sir. My fair perspective about Enactus is that it just encourage you about entrepreneurship and just then you have ideas about different things. But from this lecture, I've been, like you used to say, my eyes have been broken and saying things that this shows that Enactus is not only about the present solution you want to make in those communities, not about the present solution in that project, but it helps you to become a solution provider that you will become in the future. So,
absolutely. Thank you very much. Let's move to another person. I've stated it before. What you get out of it is dependent on what you give into it in terms of time. The lady over there was raising her hand. The lady in hijab. So let's hear what has changed in your thinking or understanding of the Enactus program.
All right, so earlier I was in Enactus because I wanted to be part of something great. I didn't really know what I wanted to achieve or what I wanted out of it. But now I believe to be part of something great, I want to be great too. So I'm going to use Enactus to impact myself. So I have to be very active.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the Enactus program essentially helps to build your capacity. I often say that the community you serve You think that they are the primary beneficiary of the Enactus program, but they are not. The community you serve is a means to an end. Guess who the end is? You. Because if you go through all of that process, you're serving a community. Your projects will be implemented in a community, right? You would develop your projects, implement it, and even now, we are now considering transforming those your projects into sustainable businesses that you will own. See the picture? So not only do you build your capacity, right, to become successful, whether as an entrepreneur or as an employee, but you also build capacity to build a business. And not only, so the way we are structuring it, you will not even have to do the work of building the business. Someone else will build the business for you in your name. How about that? Sweet, yeah? Yeah. So Enactus is that place that builds your capacity and prepares you for the future. There was one last hand there, the guy with the beautiful hairstyle. Yeah. So while we are taking his comments, I like if anyone has a question, you need clarity. Is that a question? Okay, great. Is that a question? Okay. So the last.
There's a written question.
You have a written question. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everybody present. My name is Anand Kumar. So I would just like to say that this picture has been very impactful to me in the sense that I guess I've been going about recruitment wrongly in Enactus University of Calabar, because most times I pitch the idea of the whole traveling competition to students, forgetting about what they are going to gain.
So who does
for
that?
themselves.
Sorry, who also does that? If you have done that before, raise your hand. Almost everybody. Because it's the easiest thing to sell. Oh boy, if you join us, we will go US. For free. Guess what? We will pay your flight ticket. And everybody will, hey, are you serious? Yeah, I know people in this room that joined because they want to travel. When I mentioned Puerto Rico, everybody, say it again. I wouldn't hear where. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so now I've actually realized that it's part of it, no doubt, but if you actually pitch the idea that they're going to gain most of all these qualities, I feel it's going to be a better thing to tell people, and then people are going to be part of Enactus more, because I know people want to build themselves, but when they hear all these things as just talk, they don't really take it seriously. But if you get to explain it to them and let them know that, okay, fine, if they're part of Enactus, their life is going to change numerously and not just traveling, I feel like it's going to be a better catch for students. And this is what I've learned today.
Exactly, thank you. Yes, the traveling will still take place, there's no doubt, but we just reverse the order to say, listen, that's not the primary purpose. The primary purpose is about you, who you become. You become more emotionally intelligent. You become more of a leader. You become more of a problem solver. You are forward leaning. You can engage with people. Your communication skills is improving. All round, you become a better person. And like we often say, you become better prepared to face the real world after graduation. I dare say that okay. I dare say that if you have an Enactus, a true Enactus student that has gone through all of those processes and has come out as purposeful, values-driven, and all of that, if you place that Enactus student, let's assume he's a 2-1 student, and you place him or her against another person that is a 2-1 student that was never an Enactus student, and you put them in the workforce at the same time, the Enactus student will excel faster. You know why? That person doesn't have the soft skills that the Enactus student has. Because the Enactus student is more purposeful, is more results-driven. And you don't learn these because someone stands in front of you to tell you about being purposeful, right? You learn it by doing. And so it becomes a part of you. You step out and you just do things that even you, looking by, you say, did I do that? Little wonder Uduak would say the thing she said, that those of us that have graduated and are excelling are those that were seriously involved with Enactus. Little wonder the gentleman there highlighted Adipe, Emmanuel, and a few other people also. Yes, so it all comes back to you at the end of the day. Let's move now to questions. Okay, so there's an interesting question here. How does a team find its way back after a major setback and not dwell on its past glory? So a team has done very well in the past, but had a major setback, and then they are struggling to come forward, but they are still dreaming, they are still living in the past glory. The easiest way, I don't know who wrote this, but the easiest way really is leave your past glory, accept your reality. We are struggling, right? We are struggling. What must we do to move forward? That's first things first. If you say there was a past glory, I really would have loved to know who wrote this. Is this person, if you're the one, raise your hand. That's you. So are you a team leader? Okay. I mean, if you were, how old are you on the Enactus program? 2 years. So now you're an executive member, right? Your team has excelled in the past. And I'm sure at the time you weren't yet an Enactus student, right? So those people that came before you, they worked hard. They built a formidable team for them to create the reputation that you know of today, right? So the question is, move away from that. I'm happy that you recognize that we are living in past glory. So now ask yourself, one of the things I said is that you become forward leaning. So how do we move forward? How do we achieve the kind of results that 10 years after we have left, people will still be talking about it? The young man talked about Emmanuel Adipe. Emmanuel Adipe went to Canada in 2016. That's 5 years ago. We are still talking about him now. The lady I mentioned, Udwak, she graduated maybe 2009 or 2010. I can't remember, one of those two. But look where she is today. And we are still talking about her today and our members, right? And there are several Enactus, as I'm mentioning these names, I'm reminded of a lot of other people doing great things. An Enactus alumnus is in PwC and he's a senior manager in Aberdeen. And he tells me most of the things I do today came out of the Enactus program, right? So there are several examples like that. So the question is, what will you do today, starting now, for the next 6 months, such that 5 years after you have graduated, you are being talked about, or your feat is being talked about? You have taken the first step of recognizing where you are and saying, listen, we are living in our past glory. We need to do something. So now you need to build a team that is solid, right? And then you need to look at innovative solutions that addresses real problems, or that address rather real problems in your community and beyond, that can transform lives and impact lives across board, right? But we can share more about that subsequently. Yes, question. There was one question here. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Dama Karahanat from Nigerian Institute of Leather and Science Technology, NILES. It's an observation, rather. Before Enactus, I always have this fear of leadership. Like, I used to be scared, especially when people around me are a bit intelligent than me. I used to be scared. But with the lecture I had today, I feel like, okay, from what Dr. Bishop said, he said leadership is not a career, but an outcome of your self-discipline. So I'm just thinking that, is there any way that this program or this leadership program can get to people, like especially in campus, because some of us actually wanted to come in, but due to one reason or the other, we could not come. There are many youths who have this fear and they have potentials to put something great out, but there's nobody to encourage them. So I don't know, waiting every year for this conference, I think is a bit.
And I'm happy you said that. We are not waiting every year for conference. And the goal is not for you to come every year for conference. The goal, right, is for you to take whatever you are learning from here and transform yourself and your community, right? So it is in serving those other people that you know. For instance, on your campus, you just mentioned it, there are a few people there that you think have stuff, but they are unsure of themselves, and so they don't step forward. Those are some of the kind of people you should attract to your Enactus program, because if they join your Enactus team, they will be exposed to all these things we talked about, and it will transform them completely. I have a personal experience to share. Well, it didn't happen to me directly. When I was an Enactus student many years ago, he's still Enactus. Yes, at that time it was called SIFE. We changed the name from SIFE to Enactus in 2011 from a global perspective. I was a presenter, and I'm happy that my faculty advisor at that time is here, still as a faculty advisor. Professor M.K. Aliu, and he bears me witness. At that time, I was a presenter. There were 5 of us. We went to the national competition. We lost. We came second, and we all cried. I cried too, because it was an opportunity to go to New York, and we thought that we should have won. But the story is, there were 5 of us on stage. There was me. There was Abdulkadir Baba, another guy. Then there were 3 ladies. There was Faith. The story is about Faith, but I'm trying to remember the other people's names. There was Faith. There was 2 other ladies. Tia Tama and one other lady whose name is escaping me now. Joke. Yes, there was Joke. Faith was a very quiet person, extremely quiet. Extremely quiet. She couldn't engage people. Faith mentioned to us then that as long as she has to talk to more than one person at a time, she will become tongue-tied. She couldn't express herself, right? But Faith became one of our star presenters on the stage. This is someone that couldn't talk to a crowd of 3 people, but was now standing on the big stage, much bigger than this, addressing about 1,000 people at a hotel. Sorry, was it a hotel then? It was at Muson Center. Yes, it was at Muson Center. And she was able to do that, she told us, because of her involvement in Enactus, because she became part of the team. I remember the team leader at the time insisted that she had to be a presenter because he had listened to her talk. They've talked about a lot of things in the past, and he was sure that this girl could do it, but she lacked the confidence. But when encouraged, she became in the words of my team leader then, she became a beast on the stage, right? So she couldn't have transformed if she did not become a member of the team. So my point is, all this plenty story, the point is, get those people to join the team and not let them not wait for conference like this. And I will also tell you, Faith never participated in leadership conference like this, right? So yes, we are doing more than the leadership conference. We will still follow you to your campuses in the month of April. So when you get back to your school from next week, we'll start talking to you about campus visitation and all of that. But I don't want us to wait for lectures like this. I want us to take action, because as we have demonstrated, it is in the process of taking action, of being involved, being engaged, actively engaged, that is, of being curious, of going through those processes that you develop capacity, like Faith did, like Woodward did, like Emmanuel Adipe did, and like several others did. Do you understand? So let's get them to become part of it. and let's get them to become active on the campuses, okay? Enactus is about doing, it's not about talking, yeah? The bishop says something about talk the do or do the talk, whatever. He said something like that. I can't, sorry? Aha. He said not talking the lead, but taking the lead. Enactus is about taking the lead. Yes, there's a second question. You, yes, you. Yes, we see you.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I am Favor Mustafa. My question is this: what is the correlation of the 17 SDGs, the United Nations SDGs, to leadership? And also, how do we convince students on campus and every other person out there to join in on the achievement of these SDGs?
Okay. First of all, that gentleman has answered the question on convincing people. It's not about traveling, right? It's about personal development and capacity development for yourself. Now, how do the SDGs, there's 17 of them, 17 Sustainable Development Goals that will terminate in 2030. Yeah, so we are about 8 years away from the SDGs being achieved. Whether they have been achieved or not now is another matter, right? How does it relate with Enactus? If you look at the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, they're all about transformation, ending poverty, environmental sustainability, the ESG, and several other things, right? Building capacity and all of those things. What Enactus does is to challenge your project will seek to end poverty. Your project will seek to provide opportunity for young children to gain education, right? All of a project, in fact, I often say that the 17 Sustainable Development Goals as promoted by the United Nations are the things that Enactus has been doing since 1976 when it was set up. And we didn't call it that fancy name. And a few years ago, United Nations came forward and gave it a name, right? And I say that because I believe that everything we do addresses all of those, or at least attempts to address all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And even at the World Cup level, you find that we celebrate our achievement along those lines. And even here in Nigeria, a few years ago, we did a program called Reaching the Goals, where we had projects dedicated to achieving some of the Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, so they are intertwined, as a matter of fact. There was a lady who raised her hand. Is that you? I thought it was from this side. Okay, let's the lady there ask. In white.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to ask this question. Okay, my question is, like we know in Enactus, like we are actually like into working on projects, like developing projects and implementing projects in our society. So my question is, how do we actually build these projects that can be of impact in society when it seems like all odds are against you? For example, if there is thinking block in the sense that you're not getting any idea on the project you should actually start, or if we don't have a lot of people on ground to actually work with. So how do we build sustainable projects? Thank you.
Every project has to be driven by a need, right? Every project has to be driven by a real need. Your project, another way of saying that is that your project must be a response to a problem. And that response has to be a business, it has to have business sense in terms of it can generate. Okay, so your project has to be responding to a problem. It has to be providing business solution to a problem. So your project itself, Another word for your project is solution. Do you understand? Another word for a project is solution. So you need to look at what is the problem and what solution will we provide to it. Okay, what's the problem? What solution will we provide to it? Before this whole 3 days is over, we will dig into projects and all of that. When we talk about the judging criteria, you will have a better understanding of projects, okay? All right, so we will take one more question. You have spoken, you have also spoken. Okay, the lady in glasses. You have not spoken, okay. Okay, then after the lady, we'll come back to you and that will be all for today.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Abu Karim Hadiza, Department of English and Literary Studies, Ahmad Bello University. My question is on project groups. You said to have 3 project groups and divide the students so they can focus on one project. Now the question is, isn't that going to limit their knowledge about the other projects that the team is running?
Very good question. I'm happy I gave you the chance to ask. So the idea of having project groups and having specific number of students per project does not mean if you are in project A, for instance, okay, first of all, you cannot be limited in the first place, right? Because the idea, and later on we will talk about, if not now, during campus visitation, we'll talk about how to hold Enactus meetings, right? Because your meetings is supposed to provide an opportunity for each group to provide a report. So even though you are responsible for project A, you must report to the general team continuously, periodically on the progress being made. And when you have difficulties with the project, those other members can support you with ideas, right? Can support your ideas on how to address those problems, okay? So, but beyond that, the idea of project groups and different members in different groups is such that if I am in project group A, it does not mean that I will not be involved in project group B and C. It simply means that I am responsible for delivering the outcomes of project A. Do you understand? So me and my 19 other members are jointly responsible for delivering the expected outcomes of project A. But when project B members are going into the community to go and do their projects, or they are creating a prototype and all that, we can be involved. Because again, we are all part of one team. Do you understand that? Just that these 20 people here are primarily responsible for the delivery of the expected outcomes for project A, and those for B are like that. So there's opportunity to share knowledge, okay? Yes, you asked a question about mind block. Is that you? Did I answer that? I did not answer that. So of course you have mind blocks as you're trying to find a solution to the problem. That's why it's a team. That's why you have, earlier on I talked about brainstorming as part of the activities that you will do, to go through the Enactus process. So when you brainstorm, even if there are just 2 of you, you find that you overcome the mind block, right? If you understand the judging criteria, which is a framework, the judging criteria is a framework within that defines what your project should be like, right? So if you understand that and you venture out to implement projects within that framework, if you do have a mind block, all you have to do is go back to the framework to see what does this judging criteria say, and you brainstorm amongst yourself, you overcome the mind block, guaranteed. Yes, last question.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Adenega Testimony from Enactus Taswed. My question is quite straightforward. Bishop Oyedepo said in the morning, he asked the question, he told us, he said, we don't renovate foundations because once it is destroyed, you have to start everything afresh again. And from what everybody has said, my brother said the other time too, like people dwelling in past glories. What I saw, my perspective is, the people that actually made those glory, there was a foundation they were running with. There was something they saw. There was an energy that at a point in time died. And if you are going to investigate why it died, you have to look at succession, how people took over, and then succession cannot be looked into if you don't look at recruitment. So today I really learned a lot when we talked about the old foundation. Personally, this is just me thinking they just happened naturally. I never knew it was the old plan all along, so it was planned work. So we didn't really talk about recruitment. I'll be right to say every institution here has different ways of recruiting people. So my question is, how do we recruit the right people? Is Enactus for everybody, or there are certain people that you know, their structure is what can really make everything right for us? So the foundation, let's go back to the foundation of those people that made those glory. How were they recruited? We are talking about you did a recruitment for a particular lady that was really happy. So what were the foundations, sir?
So, I mean, you're spot on.